The rain is coming down as we welcome you back, Patriots and the 49ers. Reminder, this game is being broadcast in Spanish where available using the SAP button on your television. Bill Belichick on the New England sideline, and on the other side of the field for the San Francisco 49ers in his first year here on the West Coast is Chip Kelly. The Patriots have won the toss. They will defer, and that is Ja'Cory Shepherd deep, and we're underway. And that'll go through the end zone for the touchback. And the 49ers will be in at their own 25-yard line. And Colin Kaepernick, the 49er quarterback, so many twists and turns already in his 6-year career, still looking for his first win this year, Trent, as a starting quarterback.
Well, and it's hard to believe he was in the Super Bowl and started a Super Bowl in 2012. You look at what's going on not only with him personally from an injury standpoint, and then also the coaching changes that have taken place and the personnel changes that have gone on around him.
49ers from the 25. Carlos Hyde in the backfield alongside number 7. And Kaepernick looks to throw. Now looking to run. Back to the line of scrimmage and no more, brought down by Malcolm Butler. On the offensive line, the right guard is rookie Joshua Garnett, the first-round pick out of very nearby Stanford University. And at wide receiver, number 82, Torrey Smith has been dealing with a bad shoulder. He can't go today. Number 14, Chris Harper will start in his place. On 2nd and 10, the give is to Carlos Hyde, and Hyde has to battle for a pickup of about 1, maybe 2 on the New England front 4. Defensive end, Jabal Sheard, healthy, but the Patriots didn't bring him along. Trey Flowers starts for him. Pats traded Jamie Collins to Cleveland 2 weeks ago. That makes room for the rookie Landon Roberts outside. And Eric Rowe starting at quarterback opposite Butler for the Patriots today. 3rd and 9 for San Francisco. Kaepernick under pressure and going down back at about the 11 or 12-yard line. Patrick Chung from his safety position.
Patrick Chung comes untouched off the left side of the line. You'll see him at the top of the screen. No one touches him. He's able to come in and get the pressure, get that initial first move. Nowhere for Kaepernick to go.
Danny Amendola is deep as Bradley Pinion gets the kick away. Amendola looking for running room on the far side of the field. Still on his feet, 30, inside the 30-yard line. Blake Bell finally made the stop. "44-yard punt for Pinion, and it could have been better.
Well, and when you're the Patriots and you win the toss and you defer, that's what you hope. You hope you get a 3 and out, then you get a big punt return, get you in great field position for Tom Brady in this offense.
Here's Tom Brady, 12 touchdown passes, 1 pick, and Trent completing a blistering 73% of his throws.
It's really amazing when you consider how he's able to spread the football around. He's utilized both tight ends. No Gronkowski today, but Martellus Bennett is having the best season of his 9-year career.
Brady, a little pop over the middle, is deflected at the line and falls incomplete. The interior of the offensive line, very young, with Andrews and Mason in their second seasons, and the rookie Joe Thuney at left guard. And the Pats have a bunch of running backs, but the one that's done the heavy lifting is LeGarrette Blount, 678 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. Blount is alongside Brady on 2nd and 10. Edelman diving to the 20. The 49ers defense has first-round draft pick DeForest Buckner at one defensive end. At linebacker, bad ankle sidelines Aaron Lynch on the outside. Eli Harold replaces him today. And in the secondary, One of the veterans on this fairly young defense, strong safety Antoine Bethea in his 11th year. 3rd and 3. Brady throwing to the near side. Shaking the tackler is Dion Lewis, and Lewis is out of bounds after he gains the first down. He's out at about the 11.
Well, it's exciting to see Dion Lewis back on the field if you're a Patriots fan after suffering a knee injury a year ago, getting back into the fold. Getting an opportunity here. See those open field tackles, those are the ones you have to make to force the 4th down, force them into a field goal attempt. Instead, Lewis is able to run through it and pick up the first down.
So 1st and 10 for New England from the 11. And Brady's going to have to call a timeout, running out of time on the play clock. So with 11:43 to play in the first, they'll use their first timeout, and we'll take a break too. The forecast today was for some rain. Presto, we have some rain, and the temperature is 64 degrees here today. So here are the Patriots at the San Francisco 11. Blunt. No gain. Glenn Dorsey, the nose tackle, first to hit him.
When you just brought up the fact that there's rain conditions today and what's going to happen with the running game and how much LeGarrette Blount are we going to see throughout this day? He's been a force. We've already seen a couple plays of Dion Lewis in there as well, so they'll continue to mix guys up. A problem area for the 49ers defense has been stopping the run, although they did a nice job last week against Arizona.
Brady going to run it up the middle. The 5 and slides down inside the 5 at about the 3.5. You know, I was going to ask you, Trent, we've seen in an awful lot of cases that weather can be the great equalizer on the field, sometimes.
Well, it can be. Most of the Patriots' throws tend to be short. They don't push the ball up the field a lot. They have had some success getting their tight ends up the field, but not a big play with the wide receivers up the field. So with some of those quick throws, it may not have as big of an impact as the underneath stuff.
3rd and 3. 3 yards for a first down, 4 for a touchdown. Brady throwing, corner of the end zone. Caught! Touchdown. Julian Edelman.
Edelman is one-on-one against Reeser. He's outside, isolated. He does a quick inside move. You'll see him work to the inside like he's going to work the back line, and then he pivots to the outside. Reeser trying to undercut it, bites on that inside move. That gives Edelman space to the outside, and perfect throw. We just mentioned the conditions, but he's able to get his feet down for the touchdown.
Drive that sees New England convert twice on 3rd down. The touchdown is confirmed. And here's Stephen Gostkowski. There have been 9 missed extra points around the NFL today. And there's another one. There's another one.
Well, and that's his 3rd missed extra point on the season as well. As good a field goal kicker as he is, he's had troubles with the extra points.
Last 4 games, he's missed 3, excuse me.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. PayPal, a better way to pay is here. PayPal is new money. And by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement.
It's a 6-0 New England lead. 27-yard drive in 6 plays, and Julian Edelman on the receiving end of the 4-yard touchdown pass by Tom Brady. Brady's 199th career. This one will not be returned. And we'll come out to the 25-yard line. Here's Steven Gostkowski, the first 157 games of his career. He hit 515 out of 516 extra points. The last 4 games, 5 including today, he's 14 for 17. These were his misses this year. Sometimes the train just goes sideways.
He is one of the best kickers in the game today, though. It's just he's having a mental thing with the extra point right now.
The whole league is having a mental thing with the extra point. So here's Kaepernick and the 49er offense again at their own 25-yard line. Carlos Hyde across the 32, about the 32. Hyde, the second-round pick back in 2014, now in his 3rd season out of Ohio State. This is a team that struggled, Trent, but it is overall a fairly young team that Chip Kelly has.
Yeah, when you start looking at the personnel that they have and how they're trying to get everybody into this system, it's about the process, and that's what Coach Kelly talked to us about, was the process.
There's a loose football falling on at the 29-yard line.
and the process of the quarterback-center exchange was really bad on that one.
Trent Brown covered the ball. Here's Jeff Triplett.
Snap infraction, offense. 5-yard penalty, it's still second down.
Let's see the snap.
Looks like it just slips right out of his hand and hits his own leg.
Oh, yeah. That's Daniel Kilgore,
So I'm not sure what the snap infraction is. It's just the ball slipped out of his hand. So,
well, because it looking really bad is not an official call. 2nd and 9. Hyde spinning forward to about the 27-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd and long again.
Well, and this is one of the things that San Francisco talked to us about, is the fact that you can't fall behind New England right away. You have to try and keep this thing close. You have to try and stay on the field, possess the football, keep Tom Brady off the field, and right now they're struggling doing that.
Little adjustment on the line. Play clock down to 5. Kaepernick got rid of it. That's complete to Chris Harper, and Harper down the sideline. That'll be enough for a 49er first down. He is marked out of bounds at the 46-yard line.
Well, Harper is an interesting story after being undrafted out of Cal. Spent last year with the Patriots, was active for 5 games, had 1 catch for 6 yards, but then was released, and San Francisco picked him up. He wasn't activated on the 49ers roster until a week ago, and getting his first catch of the season right there.
Juwan Harris is now in the backfield for San Francisco. And Harris with the football slipped in the backfield, and time for an update. Let's get you to New York. James Brown, Tony Gonzalez.
What a run.
What a run right here. The rookie C.J. Procise, he's going to take this handoff 75 yards for the first touchdown of his career. However, the extra point was missed, which makes it 11 on the day, which is an NFL record.
Back to Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, and Tracy Wolfson.
Really? Juwan Harris. And Harris for about a yard. And it's going to be 3rd and 9. One of the things you and I have talked about, Trent, is the threat that Colin Kaepernick brings to run the football out of the pocket.
Well, and he wants to throw the football. This isn't early in his career where he was taking off and running quite a bit. If he does run, it's more out of necessity than just finding a gap and taking off. He wants to buy time with his legs. He has a big enough arm to make things happen, but he does possess that dual threat where you always have to be conscious of where he is.
Kaepernick with protection. Lofting it, has a man on the near side of the field, and that's caught by Sean Drone out of the backfield, and he is down at about the 28-yard line.
Drone coming out of the backfield just with an out and up. He's just a flat and go. You'll see he's working out of the backfield. He has one-on-one. Hightower gets caught up in the wash there as the bunched receivers. He can't get through it. Kaepernick with the ball slipping out of his hands, fluttered to him, but was accurate enough to where they came up with the big completion.
First down at the 27 of New England. This is Hyde. Hyde bouncing to the outside, inside the 20. Fights his way to almost the 15-yard line. He'll be marked down at the 16. It looked like the first order of business for the 49ers on offense has been to slow down that pass rush.
Well, and they're trying to be physical. You can see here getting to the outside, the hard running of Hyde, the wet conditions causing some missed tackling problems for both teams, but Hyde taking advantage of it.
Another first down. Another give to Hyde. Hyde to the 10, to the 5, to about the 3-yard line. Duron Harmon making the tackle.
Well, you said it, Greg. Harmon barely making the tackle, hanging on to that ankle to bring him down, but a nice job by the offensive line creating a lane and Hyde taking advantage of it.
So here are the 49ers trying to answer back. First and goal at the 3. Hyde once again in the backfield behind Kaepernick.
Patriots going man-to-man on the outside, keeping the other 9 defenders inside.
And Hyde gets nowhere. He's going to be pushed back about 3 yards or so to about the 6.5 yard line. Vincent Valentine, the third round draft pick out of Nebraska.
Well, and that's when, as a quarterback, if you have the ability, if they're giving you the freedom to check out of it, if you see 9 defenders inside that tight end box and you've got one-on-one on the outside, I know it's not ideal conditions with the rain, but it's a no-win. When you have that many, it's just too many defenders inside. Now they have them spread out a little bit more. See if he goes with the run here.
Second and goal. This is Harris breaking it to the outside and cut down at about the 6-yard line. Devin McCourty, one of those coming in from the secondary, along with Logan Ryan.
McCourty reading that all the way. Great pursuit angle. Third leading tackler on the team. He understands what he needs to do from that safety position. They utilize the safeties quite a bit. We talked about Patrick Chung earlier in the first possession. Safeties play a big role in this defense.
Third down. 49ers 2 for 2 on third down on this drive. Kaepernick under pressure and going down at the 15.
Looked like Hightower, Greg, was able to knock that ball loose.
Third time Kaepernick has been sacked. Here's Hightower right up the middle.
Well, DeJuan Harris steps up. He's got him on the blitz, and he's not able to do anything. Hightower runs right through it with just a flank of his right arm. He gets through and knocks that ball loose, and 49ers are fortunate to get it back.
Here is Phil Dawson, 41 years of age. This field goal would be number 400 of his 18-year career. And it is good. Phil Dawson with the 33-yarder, 10th player in NFL history with 400 made field goals. A timeout, and then Brady and company back on offense after this. Play 60-yard drive results in the Phil Dawson 33-yard field goal, and San Francisco cuts the Patriot lead in half at 6-3. Rain continues to fall here at Levi's Stadium.
Well, that was a good drive, Greg, but they just talked to us yesterday about the fact that when they get down there, they need to get those touchdowns. They can't settle for field goals. Unfortunately, once they got down in there, they had several negative plays in a row pushing them back, and they had to kick the field goal.
This is Cyrus Jones from the 10 for the Patriots, and he's across the 20 to about the 23-yard line. 2:36 to play in the first quarter. We'll be right back. This is the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by TD Ameritrade. and by Bud Light. Beer with your team on it.
Back in Levi's Stadium, who is that guy? That's Tom Brady. No stranger to these parts. His high school days were dandy. Brady for LeGarrette Blount, and LeGarrette Blount finding running room up the middle. 40, midfield, into 49er territory. Antoine Bethea finally brought him down. He'll be marked down at the San Francisco 31-yard line. 33.
Blount is going to run right through here, but I want you to watch the lane. There's going to be this huge lane that he's able to run through. Great job by the offensive line at the point of attack. He bounces back to the outside, and then we talked about missed tackles with the slippery conditions. Blount able to run through that arm tackle for the big game.
Under 50 to Mike.
44-yard pickup. Brady throwing. That's complete. Inside the 25 to the 20. Julian Edelman. Let's go down to Jamie.
Greg, January 10th, 1982, a photo many of us have seen before. That is a young Tom Brady in his mother's arms at the 49ers NFC Championship game, also known as the game with the catch. Now, he has great memories of being a 49ers fan growing up, and many have reported the chip on his shoulder he often had for this team, that they didn't draft him on his draft day. But what he told me yesterday was after 17 years, he has a greater appreciation now upon his return playing against that hometown team.
Jamie, thank you. And of course, in defense of the 49ers, there are a lot of people who passed on Tom Brady.
Well, and the Patriots passed on him quite a few times before they drafted him. So not just everybody else around the league, but he's done all right for himself, I think. That would be the understatement of the game.
Grew up about 20 miles south of the city of San Francisco in the city of San Mateo. Second and 7 from the 17. Brady, sideline. That's complete to Edelman, and Edelman out of bounds just short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Well, Edelman, as you can see, with the motion, gets isolation on him. Just a quick out route, but with that motion, what it does is it softens up the coverage. Ward in coverage softens up when you see that movement coming your way. Edelman with the 4 catches and 30 yards and the touchdown earlier.
Brady gives it to Blount. Blount inside the 10 to the 9, and that'll be enough for a first down. And that appears to be the final play of a first quarter that has seen New England score, miss the extra point. That's nothing new in the NFL on this particular Sunday. We're back for the start of the second quarter in just a moment. There's a man who's kind of happy for that chip that Tom Brady's carrying around on his shoulder. Robert Kraft, Chairman and CEO of the Patriots. James White in the backfield.
Well, he was nice enough to pop in here and say hello before the game.
The screen, the other side. James White looking for the end zone. He got there. Touchdown. Trent, there's no question that at least in the early part of this game so far, Tom Brady gets all the time he needs to throw.
Well, especially on a screen throw. Normally on a screen pass, you have to you're trying to bait that defense. You're trying to get them upfield. He gives the quick pump fake to the right. That gets the defense pursuing that direction and then able to dump it off. And as you said, White does the rest.
And that is career touchdown pass number 200 for Tom Brady. Ties him with Peyton Manning. Oh, no, sorry. It's the wins that he's looking for to tie Peyton Manning. That kick is good. And this time the extra point is good. 13-3. Pats. 77-yard drive. Capped off by the touchdown pass. Brady's second of the game, and it's a 13-3 score. Early here in the second quarter. Ja'Cory Shepard, number 38, is deep. And we'll get a chance to run this one back. Shepard at the 7. No running room to the outside. Circles back, shakes a tackler. Can't shake them all. He's going to go down at about the 15-yard line. And there is Colin Kaepernick, and as usual, Kaepernick, along with Eli Harold and Eric Reed, with their by now familiar stance. We talked to Colin about what's going on with his entire protest situation. And I want to ask you, as a player, we always hear a lot about distractions in the locker room. Can that be a distraction for a team?
Well, I think the one thing that Colin wanted to get across is he wanted to spark conversation. He wanted to get conversation going. But to answer your question from a distraction standpoint, anytime during the season you're asked about things other than what's going on the football field, it can become a distraction because it's taking away from the football part of it. So that's how it's a distraction, not the message that it's trying to get across.
Kaepernick over the middle. That's complete across the 25 to about the 28-yard line to Garrett Selleck, the tight end, and that's a first down.
Well, Greg, just to finish that thought of your earlier question about Kaepernick, it's 15 years in the National Football League. I faced a lot of things throughout my career, whether it be family members that were sick, other teammates that had either gotten in trouble. There's lots of things that go on, and as a football coach, as a football organization, you want your guys dialed in and focused on the football aspect of things. So that's what I think coaches talk about, a distraction, is all the things that go on other than football.
Hyde breaking free and out to the 40-yard line, and that is another first down. And one more thing about that, Trent, is it's not a one-time thing. This is something that's a weekly situation, and in fact, he may be asked about it every single day.
Well, and I think that's something that Colin Kaepernick is fine with. He expressed to us, he's like, listen, I'm fine discussing this. I want to talk about it. That's why I'm doing it. But it's what's going on with the rest of the teammates, and I think some of that has died down in terms of how much they're asked about it.
Kaepernick looking, throws, incomplete, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Quentin Patton, on the near sideline. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, I'm getting back to the football part of it now, Greg. It's just the fact this is what the 49ers need. They need to get a drive going. They picked up a couple first downs. Yes, you'd like to come up with this completion. Great throw by Kaepernick, putting it away from the defender to the boundary, the wet conditions, and just the drop pass for Patton.
You see the numbers there. Pat Kaepernick, 3 out of 4 for 56 yards. This is Harris. And Harris grabbed as he crossed the 40 by Chris Long. And it'll be 3rd down.
Well, speaking of Chris Long, just the energy he's brought. Talked to Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator. Just nothing but compliments for Chris Long, getting a fresh start here in New England after being with the Rams for so many years. And Matt Patricia, like I said, had nothing good to say. Chris, just his energy, his leadership that he's brought to the defensive room.
3rd and 8 for the 49ers. Kaepernick running out of time, nowhere to go, and he goes down. 4th sack of the day already of Kaepernick. Kyle Van Noy, the 3rd-year linebacker out of BYU, getting that one.
Well, Van Noy's going to come off the edge. You see him at the top of the screen. He just dips and gets to the inside, and that's the worst place to get beat. If you're right tackle Trent Brown, is you can't get beat to the inside. I had guys telling me that for years. They're like, Trent, we want you to step up in the pocket. If anything's going to get beat, you got to get beat to the outside. Going to the inside, there's nowhere to escape. As you saw, Kaepernick had nowhere to go.
Amendola with a fair catch at about the 29-yard line. 12:18 to play in the first half. Patriots with the ball in a 10-point lead. 2 New England possessions, 2 touchdowns. And Brady and company get it started here with the give to Dion Lewis, and Lewis breaking tackles and out to about the 35. A reminder for you, tomorrow on CBS, will Kevin's love of food bring him new success? Find out on an all-new episode of TV's #1 new comedy, Kevin Can Wait, tomorrow at 8/7 Central, only CBS. I just want to say that the rain has obviously infected my brain because I was translating Brady touchdown passes into victories. Brady throws, Lewis, and Lewis across the 40 and out to about the 43, and that'll be enough for a Patriot first down.
Well, and usually on a screen that's set up that way and it takes that long and you do that many pump fakes to get the ball off, a lot of times your offensive line get downfield and you end up getting a penalty for illegal men downfield. But as we take a look at Edelman blocking on the outside.
Kaepernick has been sacked 4 times today. There have been no sacks of Brady and not even a hit.
Read it, Shaq. Lion.
Brady on the slant, got his man inside the 45 as Malcolm Mitchell for a first down.
Well, because of the injuries to Gronkowski and Chris Hogan not being in the game, Mitchell get more of an opportunity. He will get more of an opportunity as this day continues, and Josh McDaniel was excited that he's going to get some snaps. Wants to see him more in game action. They've seen a lot of him in practice. They've seen some in the games, but really looking forward with him to get an opportunity today, or a bigger opportunity.
Yeah, Rob Gronkowski out with a chest injury today. Wide receiver Chris Hogan missing the game with a bad back. On first down, this is LeGarrette Blount, and Blount picks his way through the line of scrimmage to about the 40, a gain of 4. And it'll be 2nd and 6 coming up. The Verizon halftime report with JB and the guys back in New York with the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. What an interesting first half of the day it was today, huh?
Lots of crazy games going on. It's just, you know what, it's been the league all year long. You know, there really have been, you know, you get teams that are hot and get on streaks, and then obviously there's quite a few teams that have been in negative stretches as well.
Brady to throw on 2nd and 6. That pass right through the hands of his intended receiver, Martellus Bennett. We have a penalty marker down on the other side of the field.
Offside defense, number 25, lined up in the neutral zone.
That's cornerback Jimmy Ward.
5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Meanwhile, let's get an update from New York once again to JB and Tony.
Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia. Carson Wentz playing well against that Seattle defense. This pass goes to Zach Ertz for the touchdown. Philly takes the lead 7-6 over Seattle.
Greg, I couldn't wait to say you were being awfully polite when I threw it back to Jim Nantz and not Greg Gumbel. Thank you, sir.
I'm just saving it up, JB. we're keeping a ledger, bud.
You should have heard what he said off air, JB.
Tell James that it happens to all of us as the older we get. LeGarrette Blount, first down and more. Penalty marker flies as Garrett breaks 3. LeGarrette Blount to the touchdown. Now, there's a penalty marker back, and it is going to come back.
Holding number 77 offense. 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Left tackle Nate Solder guilty of the hold, and that nullifies what would have been a 35-yard touchdown run by LeGarrette Blount.
Solder left tackle. He's going to come up here and he just wraps his arms around the linebacker, not allowing him to get back. It's up on 50. It's up on Ballore as you see him going to the ground. He just brings him to the ground right up around his neck. That's an easy one to call. Nullifies a long touchdown run by Blount.
2nd and 11 from the 45. And Brady just threw that one away. It never developed. DeForest Buckner putting the pressure on. What little pressure that Brady has seen today.
Well, and once again, they're trying to set up a screen, and that time San Francisco was all over it, not allowing it to happen. And late flag coming in, though.
Intentional grounding, number 12, offense. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Lost it down, 3rd down.
Brady feels he was outside the box.
Well, the problem is if you're outside the box, you throw it away, you still have to get it back to the line of scrimmage. So that's the problem on that. So here's the tackle box he's talking about, but the line of scrimmage is where the ball has to get back to. So you can see he's trying to set up a screen, Lewis gets tackled. He's back inside there. He never gets to the outside, so when you throw it away, it's got to be near a receiver. If there's no receiver around, it has to make it back to the line of scrimmage, and that's what the call ultimately was, because Lewis never was able to get over there, and the ball didn't get to the line of scrimmage.
So it is now 3rd and 21 with the loss of down. So let's see how the 49ers play this one on defense. James White in the backfield. Quick pass to the far side to Edelman. Edelman breaking to the outside and is out of bounds. Going to be marked out at about the 46-yard line, well short of a first down.
Well, all you're doing there, Greg, is trying to get the ball out in space, get the defense trapped to the inside, see if you can't make something happen with these conditions. Maybe somebody slips and falls or you miss a tackle. You don't want to say you concede that you're going to punt, but you also don't want to force a turnover as well.
Ryan Allen kicking it away to Jeremy Curley. And that is downed and downed well inside the 10-yard line by Matthew Slater. 5 straight Pro Bowls as a special teamer. Showed his worth. Colin Kaepernick back on offense after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Disney's Moana. In theaters in 3D this Wednesday. Auto Trader. Find your perfect new, used, or certified car on Auto Trader. And by K Jewelers. For 100 years, every kiss begins with K.
Look at the museum here at Levi's Stadium featuring memorabilia from the history of the Niners, including the bust of Ed DeBartolo, recent inductee into the Hall of Fame. It's open 7 days a week. First down from the 8-yard line. Carlos Hyde. Hyde busts it out to about the 15-yard line. Let's go down to Jamie.
Greg, a pretty consistent rain so far here today. It did rain in Santa Clara yesterday, but the 49ers had the field covered the entire day. Today, they weren't able to do that because it didn't rain pregame. I will say, in between quarters, kicker Phil Dawson went out on the field where his PAT would have been on that left side and made sure that grass was still intact for him if he was able to get down there. But the more I put my hands on, so far, the field isn't soaking up any moisture.
Thank you, Jamie. Stay afloat down there. Kaepernick on the slant across the 20-yard line. Clinton Patton pulls it in. And that's a first down for San Francisco.
Well, this is a lot of what the 49ers like to do. They like to do the crossing route, the drag routes, the crosses, the slants. Get the ball out of Kaepernick's hands quickly. That time the accurate throw to Patton picks up the first down.
We were talking about Kaepernick, you and I, Trent. There's never been any question about the strength of his throwing arm.
Sometimes it's too strong. That's where he has to be careful. Is sometimes he can overthrow it because he does have such a strong arm.
Going to give it to Hyde. And Hyde to about the 28.
And when I say overthrow, I don't mean throw the ball high. I mean throw the ball with too much velocity for the receiver to catch.
Meanwhile, Carlos Hyde, second-round pick out of Ohio State back in 2014. He had an injured shoulder week 6 against Buffalo, and his return last week carried 13 times for just 14 yards. There's a pass complete to Hyde. Hyde looking for running room and finding it out to the 40 and a first down.
Hyde does a nice job catching the ball out of the backfield. He had 13 catches coming into today's game, and he's already been a factor, not only running the football, as you mentioned, but catching the ball out of the backfield as well.
Sean Drone is into the backfield now. Big factor if they're going to try and slow down that New England rush.
No. Right, go.
Kaepernick on the move. 45, midfield. 45 and inside the 45 to the 42. Devin McCourty making the stop. McCourty was talking to us about that problem that the secondary is presented with when Kaepernick starts to run, because he said, I don't really want to chase him all day long.
You don't want to chase him all day long, and you have to be careful because he does have a big enough arm that when he takes off and runs, he can still make the throws. The other thing is he's deceptively fast. He's got such long strides, but he gets to that top speed very quickly.
17-yard pickup and another first down. Kaepernick, that's complete. 35, 30, inside the 25, Garrett Selleck. And the 49ers are now racking up the first downs.
Well, after losing to Arizona a week ago, they played much better. Chip Kelly talked about this offense, and they feel like they're getting better. Kaepernick talked to us about it as well, and that time Selleck underneath, just doing a reverse route where you go over the ball, you change direction, you come out, you have man-to-man coverage, able to get that separation.
And we get a whistle and a timeout called by the Patriots.
They're first.
So the Patriots trying to slow this 49er offense down. We have a stoppage in play. 5:46 to play in the first half. Colin Kaepernick's numbers on the day so far. But back in December of 2012, 49ers went to New England, beat the Patriots 41-34, and Kaepernick had 4 touchdown passes. 7th play of a 68-yard drive. Hyde. And he is cut down at about the 23-yard line.
Let's look at some of the things about Colin Kaepernick from a quarterback standpoint. Dual threat, we've talked about that. We just showed his stats, the balance between run and pass. You have to be aware of both. The powerful arm, he can throw it anywhere he wants on the field. Must improve accuracy is starting off now just his 5th game of the season. He's only completing 53% coming into today. 2 of the games under 50%, but today he is 6 of 7.
Kaepernick with time. Penalty marker is down as he throws it away as he's chased out of bounds. The marker is on the near side of the field. Trent, is it usually against the guy talking to the referee?
Well, I think what Jeff Triplett is doing, he's giving Van Noy an earful to say, listen, you need to be close. That was almost an unnecessary roughness with the late shove on Kaepernick near the boundary.
Pass. Holding. Number 26, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Penalty is on Logan Ryan, the cornerback.
Well, that's possibly why there was no one to be to find open. I think anytime you reach out with both arms and grab around the waist of the receiver, that they're going to call that, and that was a pretty obvious one for the officials.
That looked more like a welcome home at the airport. 5:03 to play in the first half. And here are the 49ers knocking on the door.
But I will tell you this, coaches tell you, if you're going to get beat for a touchdown, I'd rather you reach out and grab him instead of all of a sudden just getting burned for 6.
Kaepernick to throw. Inside the 5-yard line, touchdown! Vance McDonald, the tight end.
McDonald's going to be on the left side for Colin Kaepernick, and really he's just going to go over the top. He's one-on-one. You got the underneath. That draws some of the attention. Kaepernick buying time, and McDonald able to find the open area. See, all the way to the outside. There's it now. He could have been a little bit better throw as far as leading him, but he had beat the defender by enough space that Kaepernick was able to get the ball in there, and McDonald able to get it in the end zone.
McDonald's 4th touchdown catch of the year. Phil Dawson for the extra point. And it's good. Just under 5 minutes to play here in Santa Clara. The touchdown pass pulls San Francisco to within 3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AARP, Real Possibilities. And by FedEx, helping small businesses simplify e-commerce.
Little peek inside Tom Brady's high school alma mater, Junipero Serra High in nearby San Mateo, where for some reason, Trent, he seems to be revered.
It's pretty cool for him coming back. You know, in 2008, as it's been talked about, he had an injured knee and wasn't able to play. The one other time that New England was in San Francisco during his 17-year career, so he was excited about this chance today.
Cyrus Jug, no, this is pulled in at the 11-yard line by James Devlin. And Devlin, there's a flag thrown into the mix as he's brought down at about the 25-yard line. And Jeff Triplett threw this penalty marker. Well, Jeff Triplett's still trying to work it out with his crew.
You know, considering these conditions, Greg, both quarterbacks are having very efficient days. Brady right now 9 of 10, Kaepernick 7 of 8. Rain isn't slowing down those two quarterbacks at all.
So you're going to have to stop using it as an excuse.
Well, it's clearly not an excuse. Now, they did have a hard time getting the shotgun snap. San Francisco did on one of the shotguns, come loose on the center exchange.
Let's see what's happening.
2 fouls on the kicking team on the play. Offside, number 56 of the kicking team. That penalty's declined. Personal foul, low block, number 81 of the kicking team. That 15 yards will be added to the end of the play, first down.
That penalty that will be accepted is against number 81, Rod Streeter. And there he is diving through the pileup and upending Matthew Slater.
Well, and that's a player safety issue that they've instituted a couple years ago, and good call, easy call.
Brady's first 10 throws. As Trent said, he's 9 of 10 for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brady gonna lob this one down the sideline, and he can't connect with Edelman. Falls incomplete. On Friday night, Tom Brady's high school, we just talked about, his alma mater, the Junipero Serra Padres, upset its biggest rival, St. Francis, 31-17 in the section semifinals. That school is about 25 minutes from here in San Mateo. Junipero Serra's won 8 in a row after dropping its first 4 games of the year, and they'll play in the championship game on Friday. And movement up front. Let's see if Nate Solders gets fits with this one.
False start, number 77 offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
He will indeed. Down to Jamie.
Greg, Brady still has that appreciation for his hometown. He congratulated the now head coach at Serra after that win going on to the state championship. And if you needed any more reason to understand how competitive he really is, he went on to tell me yesterday that he was so upset they never got to beat St. Francis when he was in high school. So he was happy for them at this point, called them their arch nemesis.
It's holding a grudge for how long that pass is incomplete. Over the middle, intended for Edelman once again. It'd be great if Tom wanted to suit up for that game.
I'm sure Coach Belichick wouldn't be real happy with that. But you see Edelman work in the middle of the field, a lot of man-to-man one-on-ones across the field with a deep safety, and just not able to make the connection.
So now here are the Patriots at 3rd and 15. And with about 4:40 to play here in the first half, 49ers looking to get the football back and put points on the board before halftime. Brady, nowhere to go, and he goes down at the 27-yard line. DeForest Buckner leading the charge, the rookie out of Oregon.
The 49ers start with what appears to be a 2-deep safety, but you see Bethea, 41, dropping into the middle of the field there. He takes away Amendola on the crossing route, and by the time Brady tries working to that next progression, there's no time.
Jeremy Curley inside his own 30-yard line. And here's Ryan Allen. That kick. And out of bounds. Let's see where they'll mark this out. Either way, Kaepernick and company are going to have pretty good field position at their own 39-yard line. The on-field sportsmanship, respect for the game and opponents, and integrity in competition got Patriot safety Devin McCourty, and 49ers left tackle Joe Staley nominated for the 3rd annual Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. Current players will vote. Winner will be announced at the NFL Honors Show on February the 4th. Staley started his 90th straight game at left tackle today.
That's amazing, and those are two players to think very highly of when you talk around the league. You talk around with both their teams. It's nice to see them recognized for that.
That was just a 33-yard punt by Ryan Allen, and now here's San Francisco. Hyde. And nothing there. Let's go to New York. JB and Tony.
Wilson connects.
Yeah, Wilson, look, he's surveying left, surveying right, takes off running. Look at this throw, running left, throwing off that unbalanced foot. And Jimmy Graham does the rest at 35 yards and the touchdown. Seattle is up 13-7.
Back to Mr. Greg Gumbel.
Mr. James Brown, thank you. On 2nd and 9. Kaepernick looking for running room. Lost the football. And it's covered on the far side of the field by Trent Brown.
Good coverage by the Patriots as Kaepernick's trying to flush out of the pocket with the pressure, nowhere to go with the football, and has it tucked away. But when the ball's chopped and your arm's wet, watch this thing just squirt out. Fortunate that Brown was there to recover it. Ninkovich was the one that ripped at Kaepernick's arm.
So 3rd and 8. Sean Drone, who caught a big gainer out of the backfield earlier, is in the backfield. He's out on the pattern. He gets the ball. Nice grab with one hand and across the 45 to about close to the 46-yard line, but not enough for a first down.
Well, and you can see that ball come out with a wobble to it. This rain is really coming down now. It's been steady the entire game, but it seems to have picked up, having some effect on the footballs. I think early on, both quarterbacks, you could see them almost palming that ball, and it comes out sideways. As the game continues, the balls will get heavy, the footballs will get heavy, and makes it harder to grip and throw.
2 minutes to play in the first half. 13-10 New England. It's an ugly day in San Jose. Amendola sliding across the 25. A reminder, Tuesday here on CBS, one agent's family comes to town and invades NCIS for Thanksgiving. Catch a new episode that's full of surprises Tuesday at 8, 7 Central only. CBS. Both these quarterbacks, despite the weather, have some decent numbers up in the first half, right?
They are. We mentioned Tom Brady starting out 9 of 10, so he's 0 for 3 on his last 3 attempts. That all coming on the last possession. You can see Colin Kaepernick right now has a perfect quarterback rating heading into the half.
Penalty markers fly as LeGarrette Blount is wrestled down at about the 28-yard line.
Offside defense, number 55. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
The veteran linebacker Ahmad Brooks. A reminder coming up, the Verizon halftime report. What's his name and the guys for all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. You know he heard that. And
Yes,
and you know he'll say something about it. We're talking about JB. So it's 1st and 5. And this is Blount. And Blount with first down yardage to about the 38-yard line, maybe the 39.
Well, and Jim O'Neill, the defensive coordinator for these San Francisco 49ers, talked about how the players have bought into what Chip Kelly is selling and the culture that he's trying to bring in, the changes that he's trying to make, and he sees the progress as well. He sees these guys buying in and getting better every week.
Blount again. And Blount for a couple. He's up over 60 yards rushing here in the first half to the 40-yard line. New England with 1 timeout remaining. The 49ers with all 3 of theirs.
Well, and you mentioned the amount of yards he has. He has that one big touchdown run, the 44-yarder, and another one that was called back. So or not a touchdown run, but a big 44-yard run that set up that first touchdown.
Brady flips it to James White. White tripped up and goes down at the 40-yard line. You see San Francisco might want to start using timeouts here, but apparently not.
The pass rush, they're just setting up a screen, get to the outside, and Reed does a tremendous job of getting off the block and able to come up with that tackle as he lost outside contain.
And now finally the 49ers call a timeout, but I'd say about a good 15, 18 seconds ran off the clock.
Yeah, they waited a while on that.
I was asking you if your biggest bugaboo was, in the weather was the rain. You said no, the wind.
Yeah, it's the wind tends to cause more problems, especially if you get that crosswind. It's hard to deal with because you're trying to judge the angles that you throw at and the angles of the defenders and those kinds of things. But as we can see from these shots, the rain coming down this hard and this steady, it really affects the football. I mentioned the amount of weight that it adds to the football. It changes the grips for the quarterbacks. You have to understand, though, there are 2 bags of football. You have a bag of 12 footballs for the first half, and you'll have a dry set of 12 for the second half. So it's a matter of getting through this half with the footballs that remain.
3rd and 9. Going to give it to Lewis. Dion Lewis breaks it outside, going to get a first down and then some. Out of bounds across midfield.
Well, just like Reed on the previous play, how he kept the contain, or he didn't keep the contain, but he made the tackle that time. Tart gets to the inside. He doesn't keep outside contain and leaves Lewis the edge to get around to the outside.
So 21 seconds remain now in the first half. 85 rushing yards in the first half for New England. Brady with all kinds of time. And now going to go down at the 45. And they will use their 3rd and final timeout to stop the clock. We'll take a quick break. 12 seconds to play in the first half. Steven Gostkowski hoping for a long-range shot. Brady on the quick pass to Edelman, and he's cut down. Forward progress will be marked at the 40-yard line. And they're trying to get up and stop the clock. 2, 1, and Brady does spike the ball with 1 second to play.
Well, that was a little unusual. The center had the ball and was about ready to snap it, and the official went down and actually touched the ball and moved it prior to him snapping it, so that took up a couple seconds.
So this is going to be the Hail Mary style of attack rather than the field goal.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just run a screen or something here just to try and get him out in the middle of space, because trying to throw a ball 45, 50 yards in these conditions can cause it to flutter.
There's the short pass, and that's complete to James White. White to the 15, cut down. Nice open field tackle by Rashard Robinson as the first half comes to an end. And we come to the end of the first half. New England leading San Francisco 13-10. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Brady throwing corner of the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Julian Edelman. James White looking for the end zone. He got there. Touchdown. Inside the 5-yard line. Touchdown. Back at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, as we get set for the second half. 13-10, New England in the lead. Here's a look at the first half fresh start presented by Febreze. Colin Kaepernick finding his tight end, Vance McDonald, for the only touchdown of the day for the 49ers. Welcome back to the booth. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. And I want to ask you that in weather conditions like this, it continues to rain here at Levi's Stadium. Can the game plan change at halftime? Can the approach change because of what's going on?
Well, I don't think it necessarily changes at halftime, but it can change throughout the course of the first half or second half, depending on what you're having from a grip standpoint with your quarterback, with your running backs, is being able to hang on to the football. So that's where it can have an impact. Is as it's going on, how do you think you're best going to attack the defense?
As you take a look at the first half numbers, what took you by surprise in this first half?
Well, I just thought the efficiency of both offenses. I thought that both of them played very well. You expect that from the New England Patriots, but you're never sure when you have the or the weather conditions like we have. And then San Francisco has struggled some offensively, but if you look at what they've been able to do, the efficiency that Colin Kaepernick has played with today has been very impressive.
Patriots will get the ball in the second half, and as you see the fans wandering around, the rain continues to come down. Brady 12 out of 17 for 108. Kaepernick, good numbers as well as we get underway. Cyrus Jones is deep.
Well, and it's important to remember here now that they'll bring out another bag of footballs to use in the second half, so they'll start off drive.
Jones across the 20 to about the 22, and we go down to Jamie.
Greg, I caught up with Chip Kelly going into halftime, and he had the audacity to say to me that the 49ers weathered the storm of the first half when they're playing the Patriots. But really, in terms of knocking them off their mark, which is something he told us in our production meetings on Friday, he feels like they could do it better. They could rush Tom Brady more on those pass attempts. On the other side of the ball, Bill Belichick told me that he feels like defensively they could hold their edge more and make sure Colin Kaepernick doesn't get as many big play gains.
All right, Jamie, thank you. This is LeGarrette Blount getting started. And not very much there at all.
Well, I want to know if Chip Kelly made those comments, if he had a little smile on his face when he said it, because that's pretty good on his part.
I believe we can say the weather is inclement.
They've handled it well. Both teams, I think, have handled it very well.
Brady got away with it, and it's incomplete. He was getting pressured from behind and just missed getting the ball knocked out of his hand.
Well, that's a really long developing play when you consider how long you have to hang on to that football. It was a double move on the outside by Edelman. Amendola was on the far side working a crossing route, but look how much time he hangs on to this football. He stops one hitch, two hitch, three hitch, slides up in the pocket, and then hitches to another throw. So good protection for Tom Brady, giving him that much time to get rid of the ball.
That was DeForest Buckner, the rookie defensive end, that almost got to him on 3rd and 10. Brady, that pass complete. That won't be enough for a first down. To about the 30-yard line, it'll be about 3 yards short to James White.
Well, that's a big win for Jim O'Neill, the defensive coordinator of the 49ers, and his crew getting a 3 and out at the first possession of the second half, and hopefully set your guys up with good field position after this punt.
Ryan Allen on to kick it away. Jeremy Curley stands back at his own 25. Better effort by Allen this time. Fair catch. Call for it. He muffed it, and it goes out of bounds at about the 20. Good job by Ryan Allen. 50-yard punt. And let's see, that's going to be... Well, they haven't spotted the ball yet. But they will with 13:28 to play in the third. Here's a look at the first half possessions, what the 49ers did. They are last in the league, scoring points on the first possession of second halves of games. And New England leads the NFL in that department, but they went nowhere in their first possession. And this is Carlos Hyde. And Hyde busts it out close to the first down. He picked up about 9.
Take a look here at Colin Kaepernick's first half. Some of the highlights for him. Big completion down the sideline, taking off, running with the football, nowhere to go with it. And here's the touchdown pass to McDonald. Very efficient first half, protecting the football and spreading the ball around.
Hyde looking for the first down. And he's got it across the 30 to the 31-yard line.
Well, and coming into today, the 49ers are last in the National Football League in time of possession. Only 25 minutes a ball game, but you saw that drive they had in the first half, 7.5-minute drive, and that's the kind of thing they talked about, is keeping the ball out of the Patriots' hands, out of Tom Brady's hands, and using up some of that clock.
Kaepernick to throw. Short one over the middle, and that is complete to Vance McDonald, his tight end. You know, in the first half, Trent, we saw Kaepernick kind of cradling the football as he threw it. And I wonder if is that common for quarterback? Because I wonder if you begin to think about your throws rather than just do it out of habit.
You know, I could definitely tell you change your grip when you're dealing with the wet football. You do. You sometimes have to palm the ball more. You sometimes do more of a fingertip grip with it. There's different things you have to adjust to it depending on how wet it is, how heavy the ball gets. You would have to make in-game adjustments.
On 2nd and 6, Kaepernick keeping, and is going to run out of bounds at about the 38-yard line. Devin McCourty forcing him out. So that'll make it 3rd and about 3.
Well, and this is clearly a called run. He's just reading the end line there. Kaepernick reading Ninkovich. As Ninkovich collapses, he keeps the ball and runs to the outside, and McCourty able to angle him out of bounds, forcing this 3rd and short. Patriots again going, it looks like man-to-man defense, keeping everybody inside the box, forcing him into a throwing situation.
Kaepernick, sideline, incomplete. At the 45, intended for Jeremy Curley, covered by Logan Ryan.
Well, and that's just Ryan being aware of what they like to do in that situation. Defensive backs know where the sticks are, and if you look at the tape and you watch what the 49ers have done, a lot of the guys in the slot, they're either going to take that quick slant, is what they've been known to do, or take that quick out, and Logan Ryan was all over it.
Amendola at the 12. Right up the middle, splitting defenders, and out almost to the 30-yard line. We have a penalty marker down. Jeff Triplett relocates the penalty flag.
During the return, blocking the back, number 43, the return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down, timeout.
So the penalty on Nate Ebner will cost the Patriots some yardage. 10:46 to play in the 3rd. We'll be back after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Fruit of the Loom. Keep your cool in breathable underwear. And by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side.
The elements are definitely in play here in Santa Clara. 13-10 New England, 10:46 to play here in the 3rd quarter. And Brady to throw. Coming across the middle, Dion Lewis with the catch and a pickup of about 8.
Well, and this is what Tom Brady does well. If you look at throughout the entire season, if he's throwing the ball in 2.5 seconds or less, he has a league-high 82.5% completion percentage. If it's 2.6 or more, he's 51.9%. So that 30.6% difference is the widest gap in the National Football League. And he's having a lot of success today, as we saw in the last throw, when you get rid of the ball quickly.
LeGarrette Blount trying to take it outside, and he's dragged down at about the 26-yard line.
We're going to tie those stats and numbers into how things are going for him today. As we see on this completion, under 2.5 seconds. This completion, under 2.5 seconds. This one is over 2.5 seconds. Takes a long time to develop. It's a long play action pass. Takes the sack on that one. The numbers are pretty drastic when you're looking at it.
3rd and 2. Brady pulls it down. Going to run for it, diving, and looks like he has the first down.
Well, very seldom do you see Tom Brady take off and run for that first down. Going back to the over and under 2.5 seconds, you can see 8 of 9 under 2.5 seconds, and only 50% when hanging on to the ball longer than that.
You always hear about that clock going off in a quarterback's head. This is Dion Lewis. And Lewis, as the 49er defense converges on him at the 30-yard line. We always hear about that clock going off in a quarterback's head. I imagine at times it can be like an alarm clock.
Yes, it can, especially those long developing plays. You know, you get a couple hitches in. A lot of it's done by your feet. I don't want to say you're not aware of it, but every pass play you can tell by your feet. If you get a hitch, usually the ball's coming out, or a quick hitch, you're getting the ball coming out. If you're hanging on to it for a couple hitches, uh-oh, I better get rid of this ball. It's about to hit me.
You got defenders around your feet.
That's right.
Brady under pressure, and he goes down. And we have a penalty marker on the far side of the field. Ahmad Brooks was in on Brady. Now let's check the flag.
Well, and where it is, it's usually a legal bump after 5 yards or a holding penalty that far down the field. Defensive holding penalty.
Holding. Defense, number 33. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's the rookie Rashard Robinson, and I believe that's the second or third time today a penalty is really going to cost the 49ers.
Oh, now they're getting
Here's another flag on the near side of the field.
You're going to see the inside release here. This is where the hold's going to be. He reaches out with that right arm and is hooking him. It's that initial flag, and they're going to get the 49ers for too many guys on the field.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. San Francisco's bench. This was their second sideline warning, which by rule requires a 15-yard penalty. First down.
I thought they were going to get him with a late substitution, trying to get a defender off the field, but there was a sideline warning early in the game telling the sideline to get back. They're getting too far into that white part of the field, getting in the way of the official. The second one carries a 15-yard penalty, which is what just occurred.
Well, just 2 minutes ago, the 49ers were looking really good. 2 costly penalties have moved the Patriots to midfield. They'll give this one to Blunt. And Blunt with about 3 yards to the 47. Well.
Yep. Looks like they're trying to yell the defensive signals out to the guys on the field, and that's what ended up drawing that penalty after the warning earlier in the game.
2nd and 7. Brady steps up, got rid of it, knocked down by Nick Ballore, the linebacker, intended for Edelman. It'll be 3rd and 7. You got to hand it to this 49er defense today. They have looked very good.
Well, Ballore here one-on-one with Edelman underneath. He gets the contact right away and able to recover. That's a matchup if you're Tom Brady you're going to go for. If you get an inside linebacker lined up on your best wide receiver, but it was that initial contact Ballore had with him that knocked him off course and allowed him time to recover.
Third and 7. Brady throwing over the middle, incomplete, intended for Edelman. That falls inside the 40-yard line. Jimmy Ward making the defensive stop. And once again, you got to remember, this 49er defense started the week dead last in total defense in the NFL.
And Amendola sitting underneath Edelman trying to wheel back around, and Jimmy Ward in position to knock that ball away.
Curley is deep. Allen trying to hang it up. It'll bounce inside the 10 and go into the end zone. for the touchback. Patriots think they got there. The officials say no.
I don't know what he's arguing about. He clearly was in the end zone when he batted it back.
That's right. He's camping out in the end zone. 6:57 to play in the third. 13-10 New England, and the 49ers from their own 20. Carlos Hyde in the backfield. Hyde with the handoff. Makes his way close to the 25. I'll remind you, Week 11 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC, Monday Night Football on ESPN, and then Week 12 kicks off on Thanksgiving Day here on CBS.
I gotta say, Greg, this game is unfolding a lot like both coaching staffs talked to us about. The 49ers are saying our team is more indicative of what we were last week against Arizona, not the previous 7 losses where they had been blown out. And New England said the same thing. We're anticipating a close game, and that's what we have so far.
Carlos Hyde out to the 30 and a first down. Yeah, last week, the 49ers went to Arizona, lost 23-20. Kaepernick threw for 210 yards and a touchdown, rushed for another 55 in that game. And now here's Kaepernick from the 30. And he's going to throw it up the seam. That's complete across midfield and into New England territory. First down, Vance McDonald with the sliding catch. There's that Colin Kaepernick arm.
Well, and they go into this play fake all day where they either give the ball or Kaepernick keeps it. This time with the play fake, they get that underneath coverage to bite up into it, the linebackers, so then you get that next level of throw, and McDonald able to get up the crease with an accurate throw from Kaepernick for the big game.
24-yard pickup. That one rolled back to Kaepernick, who picks it up and throws, and it's incomplete. Intended for Jeremy Curley.
Well, and this is the second time now the 49ers have had a problem with the shotgun snap and the wet football. Earlier, it slipped out of his hand and hit his own ankle and bounced right back to him. This time it rolls back.
Looked a lot like bowling.
That's a hard football. It's hard enough to throw it when it's got a little bit of water on it, but you roll it back, it's completely soaked.
On 2nd and 10 this time. The give is to Hyde. And Hyde will be, forward progress will be marked at the 45.
Carlos Hyde for a gain of about a yard.
And it'll be 3rd and about 9.
Chris Long is in on his stop.
You know, the weatherman said early on this week that we could have rain this weekend. Sometimes they're wrong. This time they weren't.
We were thinking we were going to get by. You know, they said rain yesterday. We just had a little bit and calling for more today. And we're like, no, it'll be like yesterday. But it's been coming down. Now it's lightened up a little bit, but it's still falling.
Kaepernick running out of time, throws, and a little bit behind his intended receiver, McDonald.
Well, we keep talking about the grip on the football, and I wonder if something affected that ball because that came out sideways. I don't know if it got tipped or what it was, but there was a pretty drastic tail on it. So we take a closer look here. It doesn't look like it gets tipped. It just wobbled. Just came out of his hand funny and definitely affected the accuracy.
Amendola will watch this one sail over his head and into the end zone for the touchback. With 4 minutes, 16 seconds to play in the third. Same score we had at the start of the half, 13-10 New England.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by American Express. This Small Business Saturday, get out and shop small. And by Papa John's, official pizza sponsor of the NFL.
The rain keeps coming down. Dion Lewis in the backfield. And Brady going to give it to Lewis. And Lewis hit at the line of scrimmage and forward for about a yard. Last 5 drives, Patriots with 112 total yards. And boy, what's missing today, Trent, is obviously the tight end position for New England.
Well, that's been such a big factor for New England and this passing attack. Obviously, no Rob Gronkowski today, out with an injury, but Martellus Bennett has no catches on the day. They're such a big part of this offense, yet they're no part of it today.
319.
Fake to Blunt. Brady looking, going deep. Edelman incomplete. And on that one, Brady just plain missed him.
Well, and that was basically an adjustment by Edelman. Edelman was working from left to right. He's just going up and doing a dig route. He does a skinny post and then tries to flatten it up. But once he sees Brady scramble, he breaks the route off and goes to the open space, and Brady just misses him.
So it's 3rd and 9. Brady under pressure, throws over the middle, and he's got his man inside the 40-yard line. Malcolm Mitchell pulls it in for a first down.
Well, we just gave that stat about the completion percentage when it's under 2.5 seconds in the pocket and completion percentage when it's over that. This time, definitely longer than 2.5 seconds in the pocket. Brady with too much time. You give him that much time and give the receivers a chance to get open downfield, and that's ultimately what the result is going to be.
Maybe we need another category for 5+ seconds.
Right.
Tight ends, non-existent in this offense so far today. On first down, Brady pulls it down once, twice, ducks the charge, and then throws to the sideline and complete. James White coming back to make the catch.
Well, Tom Brady doesn't get enough credit for his footwork. Yeah, he's not going to take off and run most of the time. He did have an earlier run for a first down, but he slides around in the pocket, buys time, continues to watch how he keeps his eyes upfield. Yes, he avoids here. Immediately his eyes are back upfield. The ball is in a throwing position. He's always looking up the field, and that time it pays off.
14-yard gain and another first down, this time at the San Francisco 44.
Hey, line 50 right here. 319.
Brady going to throw it again. Far side of the field. That is complete. Martellus Bennett with his first catch of the day.
Well, you have to play a little cat and mouse with Tom Brady. When you're the defense of the 49ers, you have to understand that Blunt can run the football. Lewis is back and running the football, but you have to give Tom Brady, obviously, all the respect in the world, because if you continue to move things around, he's going to find the open receiver. That time, Martellus Bennett for the big game.
Patriots say that Matthew Slater has injured a foot. His return is questionable. That quick pass to the outside to Mitchell. And Mitchell to about the 22. And we duck under a minute and a half to play here in the third quarter.
Well, and right now it's a streaky Tom Brady. Started off the game 9 of 10, and then he went through a lull, 5 of his next 12. But now he's got 4 completions in a row after getting that big conversion on third down to Mitchell. Now all of a sudden got him down in scoring range.
Dart. Alert! Alert! Yeah, where's your mic? Keep the mic.
This is second and 2. And Brady gonna throw it. Amendola incomplete in the end zone. It'll be 3rd and 2.
And when you hear him at the line of scrimmage, Greg, when you hear him at the line of scrimmage say alert, alert, that's going to whatever the play was called in the huddle as the backup play. So you're going to call 2 plays in the huddle. You're going to call 3 plays in the huddle, whatever it may be. But when you come up to the line and you say alert, that automatically lets you know you're going to that next play. Don't have to necessarily say the play because you've already said it in huddle, and everybody knew at that point in time.
6 of 11 on third down conversions for New England. Brady under pressure, got rid of it. That's Edelman, and Edelman spinning inside the 10. It'll be 1st and goal.
Well, and Eli Harold gets close to getting the sack coming from behind. Harold coming off the left edge. Brady not even knowing it's about to happen, and he's able to get rid of that ball, dump it off to Edelman, who basically does the rest.
Those were a couple of really close calls where 49ers came very close to getting to Brady and didn't quite make it. First and goal. Deion Lewis to about the 6. And that'll be the last play of the third quarter. We come to the end of 3 on a rainy day in Santa Clara. 13-10 Patriots. We're back after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back for the start of the fourth quarter with our producer Jim Rickoff, our director Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Jamie Erdahl. In wet Santa Clara, second and goal for Brady and the Patriots. Brady under pressure, trying to escape, throwing to the end zone, touchdown! Amendola! What an escape by Tom Brady.
Well, and Amendola is going to be lined up here, and he's just back working the line and give it all to Brady in terms of him buying time. He's able to escape from the first pressure as you see the arm tackle come in there, and he just floats it to the open space in the back of the end zone. And on a day when touchdowns are hard to come by, Brady with the touchdown pass.
There are a fair amount of Patriots fans in the stadium today, and they're chanting Brady's name. Gostowski missed an extra point earlier. Got that one. 14:55 to play in the fourth quarter. Brady got it away. Amendola was there. 20-10 New England. 10-play, 80-yard drive in under 4.5 minutes, and Danny Amendola's 5-yard touchdown catch, his first reception of the day. And a big one as the Patriots open up a 10-point lead. Shepard will not run this one out of the end zone. And we'll start from the 25-yard line. Let's go down to Jamie.
We're just taking you back to earlier games here in the NFL. The Cowboys won their 9th straight game in Dallas, 27-17 over the Baltimore Ravens. That is not good news for their divisional foe, the New York Giants. They improved to 7-3, beating the Bears 22-16. And lastly, the Steelers snapped their 4-game losing streak, beating the Browns in Cleveland 24-9. And of course, we have ours going on in the late window here on CBS. Craig?
All right, Jamie, thank you. Jamie is definitely the trooper on our crew. He said, is rain still in the forecast? She said yes. And we said, well, good luck to you today.
We didn't show a lot of sympathy.
No, we didn't. Kaepernick with all kinds of time and no one breaking free in the secondary, and he had to throw it away. 11 missed extra points today, most in one day since 1966. Some pretty good performances on the day. Dak Prescott continues to amaze week after week.
It is really when you think about the fact that he wasn't supposed to be the guy this year. He's a rookie. Then all of a sudden he's thrown in there and just keeps winning and performing at a high level.
Second and 10. This is Hyde. Moves the pile to about the 29-yard line. Alan Branch in on the stop. Kind of looks like it's cleared up a little bit. And that's all relative, of course.
Right, compared to what it was. Yeah, the rain has definitely stopped. So
it's not like anybody's going to get a sunburn anytime soon.
Right. Well, we talked with the New England Patriots how Martellus Bennett hadn't gotten involved, and he finally got involved.
So we have issues with the game clock. It's being reset.
We talked about Martellus Bennett not being involved for the Patriots. So far for the 49ers, their leading receiver, Jeremy Curley, hasn't been involved at all today, doesn't have any catches.
Kaepernick now with a 3rd and 6. I'm going to lob it down the sideline. It is incomplete. Intended for Curley. And Eric Rowe was with him stride for stride. Ended up basically with 2 receivers in the same general vicinity.
Well, Curley was on the inside slot just running a corner route. Ball thrown a little bit behind. Maybe could have gotten Rowe with hooking that right arm for the pass interference call, but it wasn't called as the ball deflected off the one free hand that he did have.
Cyrus Jones on the run with the catch at the 30-yard line and going no further. Stacked up, pushed back, 13:57 to play in the 4th. Colin Kaepernick talking things over on the sideline as the 49er offense is definitely stalled here in the second half. Meanwhile, LeGarrette Blount behind Tom Brady. Blount with the handoff. And gets to the 31 and no further. About that last drive for New England, Trent.
Well, they finally got into some rhythm. Things had stalled a little bit on them, but a couple of broken plays that Tom Brady was able to buy time with his legs and find the open receiver there, the dump to Edelman to get it, and of course the touchdown to Amendola after Brady was able to escape and slide out to his left. See the numbers of those drives.
That is an 80-yard drive, making up for the previous 5. Produced nothing. Brady all kinds of time and then throws it this way incomplete. You know you have time when you don't even have to dance in the pocket. He just stood there.
When you can straighten your legs and just stand there and relax,
yeah,
that's a good pocket.
Locked his knees, right?
Right. Well, the 49ers have been getting good pressure on him. We just saw in that last drive when they were able to go on that 80-yard drive and get the touchdown. They put a bunch of pressure on him. He just was able to slide and escape and buy enough time to get rid of the football.
Yeah, we've mentioned they have come very close to getting him for large losses. He's only been sacked once today. Brady again. Got rid of it towards the sideline, and Edelman can't get there. So that'll bring the punting unit on and a good defensive stand for the 49ers.
Well, Edelman working in the right slot and Reeser coming from the left side untouched. Brady able to get rid of the ball before he gets there. You mentioned how many times they've come close to hitting him. That was a factor once again.
Jeremy Curley to about the 30-yard line. And that's where the 49ers will put it in play on offense when we come back. 13:02 to play in the 4th.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Acura. Precision crafted performance. AT&T. And by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM.
Nice view of this beautiful facility. Time of possession, not much to choose from there. Not a whole lot of difference either in the other categories. Carlos Hyde in the backfield with Kaepernick. And Kaepernick going to throw. Down the middle, incomplete, overshot Vance McDonald. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, and that's one that Kaepernick wants back. He had McDonald on the running away and just overthrew him a bit.
Hey, be the first to know your team's news with the CBS Sports app. Get instant updates, expert analysis, highlights, and more. Download the CBS Sports app today. On 2nd and 10, Kaepernick with the option that appeared, and it's going nowhere. Trey Flowers makes the stop to New York. JB and Tony.
Wilson can do it all.
Yes, he can. You're going to see him get this handoff to Doug Baldwin. And the throwback, the little trickeration to Russell Wilson for the touchdown. 15 yards, 23-7. Seattle is up over Philly.
Hey, Greg, Drew Kaliski, our producer, wanted to make sure I knew I was throwing it back to you. Throwing it back to Greg Gumbel.
There it is.
Who is this? Who is this in my ear? Thank you, JB. 3rd and 13. Kaepernick under pressure, had to throw it the far side and incomplete. Chris Long leading the charge into the backfield, and that time Kaepernick's protection seemed to just collapse.
They were able to put pressure on him, and that's one of the few mistakes. Kaepernick gets away with it here. It's one of the few mistakes he's made today, throwing off his back foot to the wide side of the field on the far sideline. That gives a lot of opportunity for defenders to undercut it, but he's fortunate that it didn't happen.
Cyrus Jones. Fair catch made at the 30-yard line. And we're now down to 12:01 to play. Plenty of time to play here in Santa Clara. Patriots by 10. Back at Levi's Stadium. 12 minutes to play in regulation.
Watch it, watch it.
And Brady looks right, comes back this way for Edelman. Made the catch. Let's see if it's a good catch or not. On the sideline, it is no.
You can see Brady was looking out to his right. He had a combination route over there, and 1 foot,
And
toes out of bounds.
Out of bounds, right.
Comes back to Edelman and just lays it up for him to run underneath, but not able to get that second foot down.
So we looked for the toe drag, but he was being helped along out of bounds. This is James White out of the backfield, and White fights his way across the 35 to the 36. And it'll be 3rd down, 3rd and about 4. And we have a injury timeout on the field. That might be Quentin Dial they're looking at. We'll be back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway. Try the classic Reuben, stacked with corned beef, limited time only. And by Verizon. Welcome to Verizon LTE Advanced, the next-gen network.
Fans protecting themselves against the elements. 11:35 to play in the 4th. 3rd and 3 for the Patriots. Brady looking for White on the near side, and he gets the first down. Fights his way, and we have a penalty marker down on the far side of the field.
Offside. Defense, number 55, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
I think that's 3 of those today against the 49ers. Those, I think you'd say, are correctable mistakes.
Yeah, and those are, you can see at the top here.
Don't the officials kind of give you a break and say you're over?
Usually do early on, but this late in the game, no, they're not going to. Take a look at Jim O'Neill, their defensive coordinator for the 49ers. You can see the improvements they've had today based on the season. Mentioned the fact they got better last week against Arizona and carried over to today.
Blunt. Tough yardage out to the 44. The Patriots say Matthew Slater, who left the game earlier and was questionable for a return, is now out for the rest of this game.
Well, that's a big loss for them from a special team standpoint. What'd you mention? 5 straight Pro Bowls for special teams. So mass changes for the 49ers there on defense. 4 different personnel on the field.
Brady throwing right side, incomplete. And it'll be 3rd and 8 intended for Martellus Bennett.
That brings up a 3rd down for the Patriots.
So once again, there's no question when you have as much success as Brady and Gronkowski have had together, he's sorely missed when he's not in there.
Well, and really Gronkowski missed the first couple games of the season. Then he came back and was really more of a rotational guy, wasn't used a lot. And then when Brady came back in week 5 at Cleveland, that was really the first game where Gronkowski was heavily involved. And if you look at what Gronk and Bennett have been able to do since then, it's been a pretty nice attack for the Patriots.
3rd and 8, Brady got it away and completed it. This is Malcolm Mitchell for the touchdown. That is another miraculous escape and throw for Tom Brady.
Once again, the 49ers able to put pressure on Brady, but he just buys time with his feet and slides over and is able to locate Mitchell working up the seam. There's a couple of receivers right by each other. You'll see as Brady slides up. Amendola's over the top, and Mitchell was just on a sit-down route, but once he saw Brady scramble, he peeled back and took off up the field, and Brady was able to locate him and hit him in stride for the touchdown.
Gostkowski for the extra point. And it is good. 10:06 to play. In the 4th, Brady to Mitchell, 56 yards. Hey, tonight on 60 Minutes, Bruno Mars, who may be the hardest working man in show business, certainly one of the most talented. Plus, why is one of the greatest teams in American sports so upset? The U.S. women's soccer team, only on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. I thought Bruno kind of saved the halftime show out here.
He did. He did a great job. It's high energy, that's for sure. He's going to get everybody on their feet.
4 touchdown passes for Tom Brady today. 16 on the season. Shepard is deep.
Good homecoming for Brady.
You think? Yeah, I think he'll take it. Hey, make the SEC on CBS part of your holiday festivities. Friday, the Arkansas Razorbacks on the road to take on Missouri. And Saturday, the game that needs no introduction, Auburn, #1 unbeaten Alabama, the Iron Bowl. What was that you played in college? Was that for the old Oaken Bucket? Is that it?
That's right. Good memory.
Against
That's
Purdue, right?
Yes, Indiana, Purdue, the old Oaken Bucket.
Well,
that'll be going on this Saturday.
Well, I mean, I don't mean just you. They do that every year,
right.
whether you're there or not. On first down, Carlos Hyde. It is update time. Back to our New York studios. JB and
Tony, a hard-earned score.
Yes, it is. Ryan Tanner is going to hit Jarvis Landry here, and he's going to get stopped short. But wait a second. No, he's not. They're going to push him. This offensive lineman, the big boys, are going to push him in for the touchdown. 10-7. Rams are up.
Back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, guys, thank you. Yeah, that's a lot of pushing from a lot of big guys on that offensive line of the Dolphins. Kaepernick. And that is incomplete and almost intercepted by Logan Ryan.
Well, Logan Ryan was running the route for Curley. He was out in front of him, at least when the ball was getting there. So after the play fake, stepping up in the pocket with the pressure.
Oh, he was always underneath.
Always underneath, so. With that throw, I don't know if he thought Curley was going to come back for it or just getting away from it since he knew he was about to get hit.
Kaepernick 0 for his last 7 throwing. 3rd and 8. Kaepernick throwing this one incomplete. And Logan Ryan got a hand on that one too, and a bad pattern developing now for the San Francisco offense. They've been unable to convert on 3rd downs for a while now.
Well, you know, and San Francisco was looking pretty good there for about 2.5 quarters, and now all of a sudden, as you said, Greg, things have kind of dissolved here a little bit. The New England defense getting better, and then on the other side of things, the New England offense has been very dialed in here, especially the last couple series.
Cyrus Jones, fair catch called for, and made at about the 30-yard line. So we have 9:15 remaining here in the fourth, and you know the New England Patriots, they won't take their foot off the pedal. They'll be looking to add some points. They're on top 27-10 behind Tom Brady's 4 touchdown passes today.
Well, and they continually talk about just taking what the defense gives you. If it comes in, and you know the expectation is you're going to try and run the ball a lot because of the amount of yards that the 49ers defensively have given up on the ground. But you want to continue to mix things up. That was the approach they had.
He's with a win today. He is looking to tie Brett Favre, second all-time in career wins as a starting quarterback. Brady, quick pass, Edelman with blocking and room to run. Midfield. And into San Francisco territory to the 49. 21 yards and a first down.
Well, Edelman may not be the biggest receiver in the league, but he may be one of the toughest, if not the toughest, because his ability to go into traffic, catch balls over the middle, and in this case, take defenders one-on-one and bounce right back up.
We have a 49er down at the 40-yard line, and that is Nick Bellore, linebacker. There's Julian Edelman, who is also hails from these parts. And a great uniform.
Well, in the 21 he's wearing is he was a Deion Sanders fan when Deion was with the 49ers. So heck of an athlete then, heck of an athlete now. Of course, went on to play quarterback. That's why I said he was so tough, you know.
Yeah. Started playing the game at age 8. And yes, played quarterback at Kent State University. First down from the 49ers' 49-yard line.
319.
LeGarrette Blount, room on the left side. 35 and out of bounds at about the 30. A 20-yard pickup.
Just a run out to the left side. Great at point of attack. Nobody gets any contact until he's finally shoved out of bounds. Jimmy Ward comes up and just not able to hit him at the point of attack, eventually run him out of bounds.
On the end around, this is Edelman. And Edelman knocked out the 25. Well, Josh McDaniels now looking like he's opening up the playbook a little bit, and the Niner defense looking a little tired.
Yeah, they've been on the field a long time. It's especially the second half. The Patriots offense has really been dialed in and creating lanes, obviously rushing the football with Blount. But Brady just spreading the ball around. Very efficient here in the second half.
And the 3 and outs have not helped that 49er defense to rest any either. This is Edelman. Tripped up as he crossed the 20, goes down at about the 17. And of course, this keeps the clock moving. And Jimmy Ward is now down at the 21-yard line. And they're taking a close look at Ward, third-year cornerback out of Northern Illinois.
Well, based on the last couple plays going to Julian Edelman, a couple of them handoffs and runs, one a reverse, getting him involved in the passing game. They want to continue to, it's a homecoming for him as well. As we mentioned, Redwood City just right up the road.
Didn't we have dinner in Redwood City?
Yes, we did. We did. That's right. Not far from San Mateo, where Tom Brady grew up. So.
Wow, 222 yards in the second half for the Patriots.
319. Easy. Gold Sarah. Gold Sarah. 134. 50's the mic. Line. 319. Hit that.
Brady throwing this side of the field, and it is incomplete. Malcolm Mitchell. Official says he could not stay inbounds. Couldn't get both feet down.
Well, this is a back shoulder throw. Watch the right foot of Mitchell. Just comes down out of bounds. Gets that left toe in, but
Second and 10 at the
right heel went down. And tried sneaking it in and tapping it back in the second time, but
Yeah, he knew it.
that's out. Oh no, let me get it back in. Not going to cut it.
Malcolm Mitchell with his first NFL touchdown under his belt today.
55! Diamond! Diamond!
Brady going down to the end zone incomplete. Julian Edelman is going to really sleep well on the plane tonight on the way home, isn't he?
Well, I think they said they're going to get back around 4 or 5 in the morning, and it's probably about a 5.5, 6 hour flight, something like that. So
Julian may not witness takeoff.
that's right. He may be out before takeoff.
Edelman today, 8 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. And here's a 3rd and 10. I think if the 49ers are going to be serious about this game, they have to come up with a stop right here. Quick pass, far side, not going anywhere. Amendola corralled on the far side by Tremaine Brock. And that'll bring Gostkowski on.
Based on that play call, you thought New England anticipated pressure. They're coming with blitz. You thought you'd get it to the outside and have a quick play happen, but Brock not allowing that to develop.
So Gostkowski will line this one up from 38 yards out. And the kick is on its way and is good. With 6:11 to play in regulation, the Patriots stretch their lead to 30-10.
Tom Brady is the first touchdown of the day to Edelman. He works the back line, and then here's a little dump off to White, getting it into the end zone, and then finding Amendola in the back, and then Mitchell with the first touchdown of his career. So Tom Brady spreading the ball around to 4 different receivers, all ending in touchdowns.
Brady's homecoming numbers today. He's always been very, very steady, and he's made a couple of what I would consider spectacular escapes and throws today.
Well, just his footwork has been tremendous today. We've talked all day about the rain that was coming down, and he was able to slide in the pocket, buy some time, and find his receivers up the field. Give credit to the receivers as well. When they saw him sliding in the pocket, they would adjust and change their routes and get to the open spot.
So San Francisco down by 20. Excuse me. With 6:11 to play. And Shepard will not run this one out of the end zone. So San Francisco starts from its own 25. Guess what's upcoming? A holiday tradition carries on. Sam Bradford and the Minnesota Vikings taking on Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions in an NFC North showdown. All begins at noon Eastern time with JB and the guys on a special Thanksgiving edition of the NFL Today. In case you're wondering, they will have turkey in the studio.
I'm sure they will.
They'll have several. So Kaepernick on first down, pass over the middle, and Jeremy Curley just kind of swatted at that one. There's Jimmy Ward walking off the field.
So speaking of Thanksgiving, Greg, are you a pumpkin pie or pecan pie guy?
Yes.
I was going to even throw in like cherry pie, apple pie, all that. It's like all of it, right? You just
what is the argument? Now we'll get penalty markers.
False start, number 77 offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That costs 5 yards. The penalty on Trent Brown. Down to Jamie.
After the penalty, 2nd and 15 at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, maybe the conditions messing around with Jamie's microphone for now. Jimmy Ward is off to undergo concussion protocol. for the 49ers. Kaepernick throwing over the middle out to the 30-yard line, complete. Quinton Patton with the catch, and it'll be 3rd and about 5.
Quinton Patton with just his 2nd catch of the day. As we mentioned earlier, Curley has yet to have a catch today. He's the leading receiver coming into the game.
Yeah, 40 catches for 424 yards, 3 touchdowns. So Kaepernick desperately needing a first down here to keep things going. Under pressure, gonna run, has the first down and then some. Down at about the 44-yard line. That's a 14-yard scramble and a first down.
See the pressure there, just bringing 4, dropping 7 into coverage, and Parkevious Mingo not able to bring him down as he comes off the block. Kaepernick picks up first down.
The first down of this 4th quarter for San Francisco. Kaepernick dances out of trouble. Sideline pass is complete to Hyde. And Hyde reaches forward to about the 45 of the Patriots. So that's a first down. And the clock continues to move.
Well, and Kaepernick hasn't had all of his weapons today either. We mentioned Curley not being involved as far as the catch today, but Torrey Smith, no Torrey Smith, so one of their 3 wide receivers they start.
Carlos Hyde smacked down as he reaches the 43. And once again, the 49ers move the chains. Now they're fighting the clock. Kaepernick with time and throws it away. I think Kaepernick had more time than he thought he had on that drop back. Hey, with NFL Mobile, stream live local Sunday afternoon primetime games and NFL Red Zone right on your mobile device. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. So what's the craziest question of this day so far, Trent?
The craziest question?
Yeah, pumpkin pie or pecan pie. That's the craziest question. 2nd and 10. Kaepernick over the middle, incomplete. Rod Streeter, the intended receiver.
I thought maybe you were going to say how much of an effect the rain will have on the football today. We have no turnovers on the day, so clearly not much of an effect.
Strange, huh?
It really was. I thought we were going to have multiple turnovers. It's hard, especially when you saw they had problems with the quarterback center exchange. We had, some of the footballs were chopped out early on. But yeah, no turnover up until this point.
Kaepernick getting time. Running out of time. And throws across the field. It is caught inside the 30-yard line by Chris Harper. Chris Harper took the strangest stance at the line of scrimmage and ends up catching the football.
That is an extremely, extremely dangerous throw for a quarterback. Running to your right, throwing it across your body to the middle of the field, float it. But Harper coming up with a great catch.
Far side of the field, end zone incomplete. Intended for Quinton Patton. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, and I know we mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it early that Harper spent last year with the New England Patriots, had 1 catch for 6 yards. This one going to Patton down the left sideline, just out of his reach, but Harper going up against some of the guys that he was with last year, as he active for 5 games last year with the Patriots on the practice squad for the others.
Kaepernick, Carlos Hyde, and Hyde still fighting for yardage, still fighting inside the 25 to about the 24-yard line. You saw the Patriots are up to 408 total yards, and on the year, the 49ers give up about 430. So here's a 3rd and 7 for Kaepernick and the 49ers. This one over the middle, that's complete to the 15-yard line to Garrett Selleck, tight end. And that'll be a first down. 49ers, I would think, would try to hustle into a play before the 2-minute warning. And they will.
Well, the Patriots end up calling a timeout. They're going to get caught with too many guys on the field.
New England, they're first. It's a 30-second
So New England
timeout.
uses its first timeout here in the second half. The 49ers still have their 3. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Bruno Mars, plus why the U.S. women's soccer team is so upset, followed by all new episodes of NCIS Los Angeles, Madam Secretary, and Elementary tonight, only CBS. I want to be an NCIS agent.
You do.
They look like they have way too much
Is that
fun.
the show that JB was on that we saw like a week or so ago? That
No,
he did a
wasn't-
cameo?
Wasn't
Was
he
it
on
NCIS?
Madam Secretary?
Was it? There we go. I knew he was doing. I mean, it must have been Gonzalez, right? Didn't Tony?
You're going to have to ask those guys. They know me. 49ers at the 13. Kaepernick. That's complete, and it's a touchdown to Sean Drone. We're so used to seeing Kaepernick lob those down the sideline. That was a bullet.
Well, and Drone coming out of the backfield, just working it to the outside. This is probably the 4th or 5th time I've seen them run this play today. The way or the pressure that New England had on it, it was Ninkovich that was on the end of the line of scrimmage that was responsible for it. He was just going for outside contain, so good timing on the call.
Sean Drone's second receiving touchdown on the year. And the extra point is good, and that pulls the 49ers to within 13 with 2:06 to play in the 4th. And let's get to New York. Once again, JB and Tony G.
Miami trying to win it, Greg.
Yes, they are. Ryan Tannehill drops back. He's going to hit Devontae Parker for 9 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. It's 14-10. Miami takes the lead. 29 seconds left. Los Angeles has the ball and is driving.
Back to Greg.
All right, guys, that Miami team has been a very interesting team to watch as this team progressed. Adam Gase has suddenly gotten them to come around to his way of thinking.
They're buying into his philosophy. They really are. We've had them a week ago, and they just the team is buying what Adam Gase is selling because they're on a win streak now, 5. So if they're able to pull this one out, that'd be 6 wins in a row to get right back in the mix of the AFC playoff picture.
Well, they did big things last week in San Diego to a very good quarterback in Phillip Rivers.
They were able to put a lot of pressure on him. They were able to create turnovers, especially in the 4th quarter, and take advantage of those turnovers.
Well, Patriots have a lot of people up here looking for the onside kick. And there it is. Bounces in the air, but it's picked off by Amendola. Amendola sliding down at the 48-yard line. So the 49ers got the deflection they wanted, but didn't get the recovery. Trent, you and I will see these New England Patriots in New York next week against the Jets.
Yeah, division game, and then the Rams that we just talked about there playing Miami right now, and of course a big one, Denver, at Denver, coming up in a few weeks.
71 is eligible. Number 71 is eligible.
.201 to play. And no doubt these Patriots will try to run this clock out on the ground. There's Garrett Blunt. And Blunt straight ahead to the 41-yard line, and we reach the 2-minute warning with 1:55 to play at Levi's Stadium. Patriots in charge, 30-17. 1:55 to play here in the 4th quarter. On second and short yardage penalty marker Sply. This is LeGarrette Blunt. And he appears to be just short of the first down, but let's check the flag.
There's a flag on the field.
Offside, number 68, defense. 5-yard correction, 58. That 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
Am I imagining things, Trent, or is that a lot of offside penalties for one day for a team?
There were a lot, and several of them were just lining up in the neutral zone. That time, Eli Harold jumping on the hard count of Tom Brady.
First and 10 at the 36-yard line.
David Andrews, the center for the Patriots, recognizing he was offside, go ahead and snap the ball.
Hey, 4 down, yeah. Alert! Alert, over back. 50's the mic. 319.
On first down, LeGarrette Blount, right side running room. Inside the 25, inside the 20, and it'll be another first down. And LeGarrette Blount feeling his Cheerios.
Well, LeGarrette Blount now going over 100 yards on the day, and coming into today leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns with 12. All these passing touchdowns, he wants to get in the end zone.
Yeah, welcome home, Tom.
Wait till they get down there and they do an around with Edelman so Edelman can get another score.
Just a reminder for you, tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes from Bruno Mars and why the U.S. women's soccer team is so upset, followed by all new episodes of NCIS Los Angeles, Madam Secretary, and Elementary tonight. Only CBS.
Do you see the reaction of Blount in the huddle? He had that smile on his face and shaking his head, and he's like, man, if I don't get it. He's like, I know I'm going to get down here and they're going to give it to somebody else. So,
fourth 100-yard rushing game of the season for LeGarrette Blount. He's got 112 and counting. Each team, 2 timeouts remaining.
Hey, you know. Alert! 50's the mic. Over. 319.
Blount adding to it. Inside the 10. To about the 7, and it'll be first and goal. And the 49ers use a timeout to stop the clock here. Some pretty good blocking up front, Trent.
well, it is, and that's the second time in a row. It's the same exact play, and both times they've been able to get a big chunk of yardage. Maybe asking yourself, why don't the New England Patriots just take a knee and run this clock out? San Francisco keeps calling timeout, so
you know, we were talking about those Miami Dolphins. If they win today, that's what, a 5-game winning streak? And these 49ers travel to Miami to play the Dolphins next week.
49ers will have them, and then week 17, it could mean something. New England may have the division wrapped up, depends on what goes on here the next few games, but that could be a very important game to wrap the season up if Miami continues to win and get themselves in the playoff mix.
And
it looks like Eric Reed.
It is Eric Reed. Oh, is that an arm set going on out there, Trent?
I don't know. I don't know if they were popping it back in or if it looked like they were maybe dealing with a biceps tendon or something there. Maybe he's cramping up. I'm not sure.
Meanwhile, the Patriots on the verge of their 8th win of the year, and that will move Tom Brady up into a tie with Brett Favre at 199 and one short of Peyton Manning's NFL record for victories.
Well, and Eric Reed's coming off the field. They're holding that right elbow. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
He is a good young ball player, too.
Overback. What do you got? Diamond.
Replaces him.
Overback.
First and goal. Blount. And the 49er defense says, fool me 3 times, shame on you, I mean, with a flag down. Jeff Triplett.
Personal foul. Number 58, defense. Unnecessary roughness. After the players stop picking off the pile. Half the distance to go, automatic first down.
Well, with the penalties, the 49ers have shot themselves in the foot in this game.
Let's say he'll be coming in from the left-hand side. Takes a shot at Fleming there.
He says no, but the pictures say otherwise.
That was pretty obvious. So with the player protection issues going on, that's a pretty obvious call.
10 penalties for 68 yards against the 49ers. Many of them in a key situation. This is Blunt to the 2. And we get a timeout here. San Francisco now out of timeout. So the Patriots will rebound from that loss to Seattle. Move to 8-2. Miami a winner with 6-4. Buffalo is surprising, or was it a surprise? Well, they went on the road against a very good team.
Yep, they did. But you said Miami, 5 wins in a row now for them. So getting themselves right back in the mix. And we mentioned New England. We'll be with them traveling to New York to take on the Jets.
They continue to look at Eric Reed on the sideline.
Is that sun up there in the upper deck that's coming through?
Either that or the world's biggest spotlight.
Second and goal with 2.
Brady's game today. Blunt. And that defense just might be keying on LeGarrette Blunt at this point.
They're going to do everything they can to keep him out of the end zone at this point in time.
Blue sky.
We even have a little rainbow out here. How about that?
I believe I can hear Jamie saying, "Where the heck have you been most of the day?"
That's right.
Wow. Eric Reed is taking the walk to the locker room. And Tom Brady going to take a knee. And that will do it. 9 straight losses for the San Francisco 49ers. What a homecoming for Tom Brady.
And Julian Edelman.
Bill Belichick looking for his good friend Chip Kelly to shake hands. We can't find him for the moment. Our final score, New England 30, San Francisco 17. For Trent, for Jamie, for all of us here in Levi Stadium, Greg Gumbel saying so long. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. To James Brown in New York.